Hi, I'm Daenerys of the House Targaryen, the first of her name, breaker of chains, and mother of dragons, and this is Wildlife Matters. For generations, my ancestral line of dragon rulers conquered much of Westeros. Eventually, all the dragons were thought to be wiped out after more than a century. That is until I was given my 3 dragons, whom I regard as my own children. Fast forward into the year 2020 and my dragons and I have already been long gone. And although my story and existence is mere fiction, I have no doubt that it's the real world's creatures that have inspired many characters like mine and have made the idea of dragons the beautiful fantasies we have them as today. Let's explore the real world, shall we? Here are 10 dragons that exist in real life. Okay, I'm gonna cut the accent now, it's too much. Number 1, bearded dragons. These are probably the most famous dragons in the exotic community since they're commonly kept as pets all over the world. Like actual dragons, these guys have an armor of spiny scales covering its body. And under its chin, you'll see what appears to look like a beard of spikes, which they puff up whenever needed. And that's how they actually got their name, bearded dragons. Now there are many species of bearded dragons all over the world, and they originated from Australia. Number 2, Komodo dragons. The Komodo dragon is the heaviest lizard on Earth and can reach up to 10 feet in length and weigh up to 300 pounds. They're amazing predators with long flat heads, scaly skin, strong legs, and huge muscular tails. As the largest lizards alive, they might just be the closest things we have left to real life dragons. Number 3, sea dragons. Who said there weren't any dragons in the sea? I mean, in Chinese mythology, they told stories about dragons lurking in the waters, and so we figured why not include them here, right? Sea dragons are actually fish, and they're related to seahorses. There are many kinds of sea dragons all over the world, and scientists are still discovering more and more of it. Number 4, dragon millipedes. Now I know that this is more of an invertebrate or a bug, but they do have the word dragon in their name, so why not include them here? Dragon millipedes are found throughout Southeast Asia, even in the Philippines, and got their name because of their spiny protrusions covering their many legs. There are many species of dragon millipedes, but probably the most remarkable one is the shocking pink dragon millipede. I know, funny name, because it's really shockingly pink. Just like many other animals, the bright coloration is actually a warning to potential predators to know they're actually poisonous. So it's like they're saying, hey, look at me, I'm colorful, I'm poisonous. Number 5, the giant dragon lizard, or the giant girdled lizard. This is a very unique species of lizard found only in South Africa. It's covered in rings of spiny scales that look almost like they're girdled with armor, and that's actually how they got their name. Sadly, their populations are declining because they've become very in demand on the illegal wildlife trade, and they don't breed in captivity. So if you see one being sold, it's most likely that that lizard was poached or bought from the illegal trade. What's very interesting is its scientific name is Smaug giganteus. Does that name ring a bell? Well, if you're a fan of The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, then you probably know who Smaug is. The dragon that guarded the Lonely Mountain's treasures. The giant dragon lizard actually got its scientific name from that legendary dragon. Probably also why the movie version looks very similar, don't you think? Number 6, frill dragons. Also known as frilled lizards, these guys have become iconic for their large, colorful flaps of skin that they flash out as a defense mechanism to scare other creatures away. It does so to make itself look large and scary when it feels like it's threatened. They come from extreme southern New Guinea and north coastal Australia. And number 7, the Borneo earless monitors. Now, for all the Game of Thrones fans, this one's probably familiar to you, because back when the show was still running, there was an image of an animal that went trending because it looked like an actual dragon from Game of Thrones. That, my friends, is the Borneo earless monitor lizard. Before they became viral, very few knew of them. But now, thanks to social media, reptile collectors have been increasing the demand for these creatures, and they are now more and more getting poached and sold on the illegal trade. Number 8, the sailfin dragon, or the sailfin lizard. These prehistoric lizards have spikes and a crest on their body and look truly out of a fictional movie. Plus, their common name is Hydrosaurus. Sounds just like a dinosaur, doesn't it? So cool. This lizard is a great swimmer and has flattened toes which enable it to run across water. By the way, this is the Philippine sailfin dragon. There are many types of species of sailfin dragons that are found all over Southeast Asia. In the Philippines, you can find the sailfin lizard in places like Guimaras, Romblon, Negros, and Cebu. These guys have 3 eyes, also known as the parietal eye. Most lizards have this. So you see one eye here, one eye there, and an eye up here, which you just can't see, but it actually serves as a 3rd eye. This 3rd eye actually helps them protect themselves. So if ever there's a bird of prey flying above them, they'll be able to tell that there is thanks to that parietal eye. Look at those blue colorations in its skin. Isn't that awesome? Number 9, the blue sea dragon. Now this one isn't a lizard, it's not a fish, and it's not a bug either. This is actually an invertebrate because it's a type of sea slug. But unlike other sea slugs who spend their time on the ocean floor, these guys actually live their lives in the open ocean, floating along the surface using swallowed air that they hold in their stomachs. You can find them all around the world in tropical and temperate waters. They grow only to 1 inch long. And even though they are tiny, they eat venomous creatures that are much bigger than them, like blue bottles, Buytheoin sailors, and the Portuguese man of war. And although these are creatures with terrible, deadly stings, the blue sea dragon is immune to that. In fact, it can even store those stingers and produce a sting more powerful than those animals like the Portuguese man of war. Another fun fact is they're hermaphrodites, which means that they have both male and female sexual organs. But look at how beautiful this creature is. I mean, doesn't it look like a colorful blue dragon just out of this world? Like, I'm blown away, I'm blown away. Number 10, flying dragons. As much as they aren't dragons, they also do not actually fly. Instead, they're gliders. The folds of skin on their sides can expand into a cape attached to its ribs, which allow it to glide smoothly through the air. It makes it look like it's flying with wings. They glide through trees and forests of Southeast Asia, but when they do, they definitely look like they're flying, as they can glide as far as half the length of a football field. Yup, they can travel over 100 feet in just one single leap. Seeing them in air would make you really think that these lizards could fly. They can be found in many places across Southeast Asia, especially in the Philippines, because in the Philippines we have a lot of different species of flying dragons. In fact, our national hero Jose Rizal used to collect many specimens of these flying dragons while he was in exile in Mindanao. And he actually sent them over to Europe for a German zoologist to study, and that zoologist thought that Jose Rizal discovered these new species, and so he gave them the scientific name Draco rizali. Up to this day, there are many scientific names associated to these flying dragons, and there's not so much that people know about them, but it doesn't change the fact that these are amazing, beautiful creatures. And different species have different patterns on their flaps or on their wings that are just so beautiful and colorful and not like any other species out there. It's obviously one of the most interesting Philippine species that we have. And so if you ever run into one, or if you know someone who does, make sure that you respect it and protect it, because these guys are really defenseless against us. So those are 10 species of real-life dragons that we have in this world. And I just wanted to say before we end that, you know how when you hear about dragons in movies and in fairy tales, the story behind them is usually that they have long been extinct, or that there's just very few of them left. And I think that's something that can be a reality for the 10 creatures that we talked about today. Because if we're not careful and if we keep exploiting them, then just like the dragons in those fairy tales or in Game of Thrones, in the future we might not be able to see them anymore like we do now. And so it's very important to always remember to fight for the conservation of these species and learn how to appreciate them by being a voice for these voiceless creatures, because they are truly, truly amazing. Because remember, every piece of wildlife matters.